But that's how can you leave the flesh and go to the flesh? No one defends around all my fever. That's when other tribes ask why I read it exactly. That's when ثاني واحد يروحون الروس بيجوا للمان فلسطين اي واحد على كل شيء يلا هاي هذا اللي بفضل He's just not coming. Yes, sir, not the living God. Let's go. Film them, the police are going Right, do apologise. No need to apologise.
Okay. Thank you for not disturbing.
No, I wouldn't really appreciate it. I wouldn't have disturbed you. You might not have been.
To be honest with you, we were told that the prayer area is there.
Yeah.
It's this. We thought we can quickly pray here.
And to be fair, you're fine.
Okay.
But just so you're aware.
Thank you for telling us.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate that. Okay.
Police are harassing us again.
They're not harassing us now.
He's gone to a lesson. I saw him walk past, and I wanted, because I was in the middle of a conversation, though. I wanted to salute him. I haven't seen him.
He'll be back. They'll be back. The lesson is from 5 to 6.
In case I don't see him, if I leave before that, give him a salam.
I will do.
Tell him I asked about it.
He's a cameraman now, so he's up here every Sunday, inshallah.
Okay, he's coming back.
Yeah.
Is he living in London now?
No. He's traveling from Oxford every Sunday.
Okay, inshallah. If he comes back when I'm here, I'll see him.
Yeah, he'll be back after 6, maybe about 6:30 or something like that.
Oh, it's freezing.
I know.
Worshipping the Kaaba stone is not pagan. Okay, and do you believe in the Prophet Moses? Okay, this is what Prophet Moses saw.
Which one, brother?
We don't bow to the Kaaba. Bow down to it. You bow towards the stone. We don't bow down to the stone. No, he's talking about,
It's not that ignorant.
even your Bible is not to read. Even your Bible is not to read.
We have to disassociate you are pagan.
I shouted, and then
There's only so much where you can read a translation and you have the exegesis as well, where there's volumes and volumes of. But once again, you're not going to understand the religion fully without understanding the Arabic language. So from a religious point of view, I'll say yes, Arabic does have a special place for us, and of course it's going to have a special place in our heart. This doesn't equate to the Arabs being superior to non-Arabs. But on the other end, neglecting Arabic altogether and saying, right, we're going to have Somali Quran only, English Quran,
No, that's not what I said.
and limit it to that.
So basically what I said, okay, this is my point here. How the deen, like many different things, same thing goes in the Somali language as well. So we can describe one thing into different aspects. right? So the same thing. So basically, it's easy for a Somali to actually learn the Quran and understand the Quran better than a non-Arabic or a non-Somali, non-other Arabic-speaking person. Simply because like we basically also Somali is partly Semitic, partly Christian. You get me? So you can understand both. So now it's good to. So what I'm saying, learn the Quran, learn them, so you're gonna have to speak Arabic. That's the language of Deen. That's the language of Allah. Some guy came to me like, you know what? In Jannah we're gonna speak Arabic. Where are you getting that from? How are you gonna speak Arabic in Jannah? At the end of the day, like I said this 100 times, yeah. Language is only a vibration code. So right now, all we do is that we're vibrating. Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. Sound vibration. So what happens is Allah is communicating to people through the best frequencies, through the best vibration sound. You get me? And Allah chose Arabic for some reason. Even though nowadays, when we say Arabic, we do not mean
discussion going on as well.
Modern day Arabic has been messed up. It has full of lahja. You get me? So we're talking about the ancient Arabic, yeah, dialects and lahja. So it has a lot of dialects, you get me? But in the ancient Arabic, when you read it, it goes, it flows, it's very beautiful. I do not deny that. But the thing is, keep your culture. For example, I was speaking about hijab, sorry to interrupt, yeah? I was speaking about hijab. Last time I spoke about hijab, and a lot of people are forcing this huge garment on other people, right? We have a lot of Arabized Somalis in Arabia. In Somalia, what we have is dira or bati or many other designed clothes.
And I think the men's clothing also varies, doesn't it?
Exactly, ma'awis, and a lot of beautiful cultural clothing.
Yeah. How are these clothes? Sorry,
basically, I can't describe, but it's just it's certain garments, right? No, it's not abaya, it's different. I'll show you pictures later. So basically, long story short, and then he has gabisar, and it's beautiful. When a Somali woman wears it, mashallah, she looks beautiful, she looks modest, she looks Muslim, and she got everything the Deen has. There's nothing wrong with being yourself and your culture, as long as your culture is not against Islam, it's not against, what's it called, Allah, it's not against the Sahabis, keep it. What's wrong with it? Wallahi, for the sake of Islam, yeah? Somali people, they have destroyed their own historical monuments, pyramids, idols, so much. Right now, when you go to Somalia, you won't see, we were the ancient Bunts, right? And we don't have any of these things anymore. Even till today, they are funny.
Kind of ideological, Khariji kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Because the Sahaba, they went to Egypt,
yeah,
they went to Syria, they didn't destroy it.
They didn't destroy it.
Pre-Islamic idols and things like
Is
this.
it my understanding that the Prophet, peace be upon him, dressed like the people he went to visit?
Yeah.
He actually made it upon himself to dress as they dressed to civilians. So
exactly.
You know, I'm an English geezer, so there's no need for me to wear to wear a kameez. Yeah. When I go to Saudi, I do. I went to Saudi last week.
I saw the video. Man.
Yeah, but I'm back here and dressed like an English.
Exactly. So a lot of people think, sorry, bro. A lot of people think that when a woman, a Somali woman or African woman or any woman does not wear the niqab, I called that letterbox last time. I would like to take back because I've seen a lot of kuffar saying it, so I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to say letterbox anymore. Astaghfirullah. But I've seen a lot of it's called what's it called, burqa? Burqa, niqab. Like Somali, that's not our tradition. It's not something it's not for us, right? Because that's an Arab tradition. That's what Arabs do. If I went to Arabia,
I gotta stop you there, bro.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
I'm Pakistanis.
No, it's not about the Pakistani.
That's what I think. That's what I think.
That's your opinion.
By wearing
burqa is not Islamic.
Bro, there's different opinions on the niqab.
Yeah, but it's not Islamic.
Some are saying that the woman do need to wear it. Some saying don't need to wear it. Right? Some say in the hadith, if the woman is so beautiful, then and it's causing fitna, then it becomes fard on her to then wear the niqab. Regardless, I'm not a scholar. Yeah. Right? The
niqab sisters that choose to wear it are doing it Islamically.
Yeah, but anything that has a dispute amongst the people, it's not so important.
The point that I want to put across, because we're not scholars here to give the fatwa on whether niqab is fine or not, or wearing the loose abaya, but does the woman become less Somali by wearing that?
Does she become less Somali?
This is not an Arab tradition.
She loses. No. Me as a Somali, I'm 100% against for any Somali woman to wear burqa because that's not her culture.
It's an Arab culture.
It's an Arab culture. That's why. Like, when you go to Arabia, that's what you see. For example,
this is modern Arab.
If my sister went to Arabia and she wore burqa, all right, cool. She's in Arabia. Like you said, like if you go to a certain people's culture, look like them. There's a Somali proverb that goes. Like if you go to a place where everybody has one eye, then take your other eye out so you don't know everybody else. You get me?
Like when in Rome.
Yeah.
You get me?
Bro, you know where the black abaya, where that tradition started from?
What is that?
It started from the Christians in Syria. But when the Muslims saw it, they said that actually this clothing fits with what Islam is teaching. So therefore they adopted that clothing. So it's not a Saudi Arabian clothing.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
This is not any.
Are there certain times the Prophet had his white woman in the car? But there are there's scripture to say where he had people wear it.
I'll need to look into that.
I've never heard the niqab. I've never heard the niqab being described as an Arab thing. So it's the first thing I've heard.
But me, every time I look into it, I've seen a lot.
You have Moroccan Niqabi sisters. You have. So your claim is that
these
they
are
are being
descendants,
Arabized.
Moroccans. These are Arabized people.
Okay.
Arabs came in and they gave them their culture. Like, anyways, coming back, for example, when you go down east, south, or from north to south, like east part of Africa, you see the culture changing. You see different cultures. Like, people are Muslims, they are modest and everything, but still they got their culture. They're not Arabized. But then the further you go, you see more Arabized people with different. For example, the Berbers, right? Of North Africa, they have a beautiful culture, which is very much similar to Somali culture.
So I think the burqa is separate, but I do agree with you that cultures have the way of dressing, and you can't make the mistake of thinking that it's Islam.
I mean, in the English concept, I think it's Abdul Hakim Murad Timothy Winters, and he's done an extremely good effort. He's Muslim, the Cambridge guy, absolutely, and he's actually making Islamic versions of Christian carols, and that's what I want to see here. Even though my background isn't from like an indigenous English one, I wouldn't want to see Islam here be dominated by foreign cultures. It's got to be a kind of homemade English Islam, right? So with an English culture, but within the niqab, so I think you've got to be careful, my brother, sincerely, because then we're overstepping our mark, and you might be saying something which maybe put your deen in trouble. Like what? Like about the niqab and the loose clothing. This is part of our deen.
I'll show you what dir'a looks like.
The Somali woman.
Yeah.
It's modest, it covers it.
Yeah, it covers it, yeah. It's dir'a.
The bro was saying about niqab as well.
Yeah.
And in the debates of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they're debating whether you can wear niqab or not. We can't say that as laymen that niqab is not part of our culture. It's not about culture. You know, it's not something uniquely Arab either.
Do you know many Niqabi sisters?
Huh?
Do you know many Niqabi sisters? Have you spoken to them about why they wear it?
Look, they can have their choice, right? Like, I'm not the one to force people.
Yeah, and I've known a few, and their reasons are always to do with Islam and how they feel about Islam. I've never heard the argument that it's Arab.
You're talking about Arab culture, but Islam was,
for example, here's a very simple.
Came to get rid of.
It's a very simple dir'a. That's just like, you get me. She's sister's modest. She's covered, right? Let me show you.
I look for you.
You can come back.
McDonald's is closed.
I'm gonna show you some camera, man.
No, I went there.
That is like
Went to Pret instead.
It's called dir'a basically. Right? Yeah, that's dir'a basically, right? Right. Yeah. So it's very beautiful. There are more dir'as and parties with different colours. Also, we have.
What's the deal with the colours? Is there something? I'm sure I've read something about the colours.
For example, I'll show you one important colour. There's one important colour that Somali people will keep it as.
Does it indicate tribe or position?
The point of the niqab or the hijab is to not
but this
catch
one
the eye
indicates
and the
specifically
colours.
Somali culture.
Resisting this kind of Arabization mentality is that many Muslims in the West, particularly in the UK, they have this idea that there is no culture in Islam. And whatever, no, there's no culture in Islam, and yet they adopt their Arabic culture. But actually, in the Sharia, there's even space for urf, which is culture. As long as it's within the scope of the Sharia, nothing wrong with that.
I know different tribes describe it.
Absolutely, you can't expect.
I'm alright. My understanding is that only 20% of Muslims are actually Arab.
Possibly, sounds about
80%
right.
of them are all
Yeah, sounds about right.
Well, the Prophet ﷺ actually came to get rid of certain traditions from people who are Arabs, his forefathers and stuff. So he didn't hold on to Arab traditions.
He got rid of many Arab cultures because they were wrong.
Yeah,
like killing, having a daughter and then burying them alive. Barbaric, absolutely. But that was Arab culture.
Yeah, and even the ones that aren't so extreme, you know.
Trying to get example.
But you said before that if the Somali sisters wearing something that you consider an Arab dress code? Is it that she shouldn't do that?
I'll tell you, yeah. For example, here's a dress. Here's a dress code. Hiddakan, yeah.
So can she choose what she wants to wear?
Yeah. For example, here's another. This specifically a Somali traditional dress. I know. But basically, you see, this is the hijab on the side, so she covers that with herself. Now, this is called hiddakan, right? So this is the dress, and that is the garbisar. Garbisar is something that you cover with your head. So this is let me show this on camera.
If she wants to not wear that,
Now, if she doesn't want to wear it, she doesn't want to wear it. But
is that okay?
This is like every Somali, when they're having important things happening, they wear the hiddakan dress code. All right. Okay. I'll show you how girls and boys look like. So.
While you're searching, I don't understand how niqab or abaya is Arab. I don't understand how you've linked that. This seems to be like, you know, the secularists in Muslim countries, they'll always say this is Arab culture. They've done it in Turkey, they've done it in Tunisia, Kyrgyzstan, all these kind of countries. They'll say this is not, but to replace it, they have no problem taking Western culture.
Yeah, no problem.
But when it's something that's Islamic, they say, oh, this is Arab culture, this is foreign to us, we don't want this.
Okay, let me tell you.
It's that kind of mentality I'm linking this to.
I know what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. But the Somali people, first of all, they don't like to be infiltrated, right? They don't like to be changed. For example,
as did the Arab. The Arab also didn't like to be infiltrated.
Well, they did welcome the Western world to infiltrate them.
I mean, in the Prophet's time, they didn't welcome his infiltration, but he infiltrated.
Until today, even though things are changing a little bit. But starting from the 1990s, yeah, Somali people, even America tried it. Black Hawk Down happened. Before that, the Portuguese tried it. Before that, the Omanis tried it. Before that, the Romans and the Greek tried it. We've never accepted any people to infiltrate it whatsoever. We defeated them. The Romans are very powerful people too. You get me? We defeat all these people simply because, like superpowers, when any superpower comes to Somalia, they fall, right? So now what they have done is they've seen how powerful these people are. They have started doing divide and conquer thing, like, you know. So they started to work out how the Somali system works through tribal. That's where they get into. So that's why you see, for example, we spoke about Somaliland earlier. Yeah. So this is, for example, when the British came and the British were being defeated by Sayyid Abdullah Hassan. He's a very important figure in Somalia. He defeated one of the most powerful colonels who actually done a lot of crazy jobs in Sudan, India, Pakistan. They couldn't handle this guy. Like, wherever he goes, he was massacring people. When he came to Somalia, the Sayyid was the only man that said, you know what, the Dervish people were the one that stopped him and he was killed within there. So when the British saw how these people, at the end of the day, at that time, there was Ifad, there was Adel, these are different sultanates. There was Wasangeli and a lot of other different tribes of sultanates, yeah? And then, even though they were separate in kingdoms, the Sayyid was talking to different sultanates saying that I need men, come give me men. And you see from every corner of the Somali regions, people coming to support him. Somalis are united. So what the British and the Western people, they got used to, you know, people who are divided, and you can use, like, you can you can put enmity between them. But then anyways, long story short, when the British left and they wanted Somaliland to be independent, what Somaliland done was that they designed the Somali flag that I have. Somaliland designed it, and they also wrote the song for the flag. And they came to their Somali brothers and they was like, you know what? Let's be one. The blue flag. The colonizer left, so now it's time for us to be one. So when the British saw this, they were like, what's going on, man? We were never expecting this, you know? But now what's happening at the moment is there is some tribal tension, right? There's some tribal tension between the two, and also what a previous guy, some president who was a bit corrupt.
No, is Somalia a Muslim country?
100%.
So the laws and everything.
Everything.
But if you were Somali, Islam doesn't affect the culture. You know, obviously me being British, going back to Islam, all of a sudden whilst I've kept my culture, there are some parts of my culture I have to give up. Because obviously Islam is first. You're Muslim before you're Somali, aren't you? This could be the. That is where I wanted to go.
He's more patriot because
so you're more Somalian than you are Muslim.
I'm not a nationalist. Look, I come here to strengthen my community. Right? Look,
the brother asked the question.
I think I might have hit the nail on the head somewhere.
I'll get to your question. Just let me
explain this already. That was the intro.
One more time for the people out there who was listening. Whoever thinks I'm a nationalist, yeah. So when I came to this park, yeah. So people talking about everything, yeah. So I've seen the park being as a voice for the voiceless, or voice for those who can't be heard. So I see a lot of things happening within the Somali community, and I started with teaching Somali history. Even though I don't know a lot, but I just try to spread what I know. You get me? But anyways, long story short, am I a Muslim first or Somali first? That's a good question. But the thing is, would I have been a Muslim if I wasn't a Somali?
Well, I think,
brother is not Somali.
Yeah.
No. I know, but you were invited to Islam. But I'm a Muslim because I was Somali first.
No, but presumably, because I think reverts revert, but a born Muslim has to one day ask themselves the question, why am I Muslim? You can't. I mean, if you just say because you're born Muslim, that's not really good enough, is it? So presumably you believe in Islam, you believe in it all. So.
No, but you asked me. You're talking about identity, right? First of all, Islam is...
You're always saying you're Muslim just because you're Somalian, but that's separate.
No, that's not what I said. Okay, let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase it. Somali people are 100% Muslim. My mom is Muslim and my dad is Muslim. So just because I was born into a Somali community, like it's a gift basically. I'm thankful that Allah did that. But the fact that I was born into a Somali community or Somali parents is why I'm a Muslim. If I was born, if
that's the main reason.
So even if
that can't be your reason. That can't be your reason.
What if your parents held the same belief?
Can I finish?
I get what he's saying though.
Can I finish?
I do understand what you're saying, but
the main
right now, I'm a Muslim because I understand Muslims.
Yes.
Right? Or I understand Islam, right? But the identity, just because my mom and dad were Somali, because we know Somalis are 100% Muslims. If Somalis were Christians, and my mom and dad were Christian, I would have been born a Christian.
Yeah.
You get me? Yeah. So because Somali people are Muslims, I am born a Muslim.
I agree with that.
You would be born into a Christian family,
yeah.
I don't know if you be born.
If they were Christian,
so you're blessed enough to have that head start into Islam.
Somali, I'm blessed that I'm Somali. You get me? That's number one. Alhamdulillah. The second part, identity comes. Identity is description, identification. You cannot identify or describe faith. Can we describe faith? We can give faith definition, but we cannot describe faith. So when we're talking about, is
that not a description?
What? Definition, not description.
How would you differentiate the two?
Okay, description is like when you describe something in detail. Like,
are you saying in terms that it's not tangible?
Oh, for example, let's define what is the etymology. For example, etymology of words, root words, where it comes from, where it is in essence, that's definition. Whereby descriptions like just simple stuff like, for example, sorry, what's your name, brother?
Jordan.
For example, I was like, I saw Jordan, and you ask me, who's Jordan? I'm going to be like, he's a tall guy, he's a bit muscular, Yeah, that's description. Whereby definition is giving etymology, root word, where it comes from, what it means in essence. Yeah, that's two different things. So now, religion or faith is definition. You can only define religion or faith, but you can't give a description of it. Like, for example, we believe in Allah, right? Can we describe Allah? We cannot describe Allah, right?
So we can explain Him up to a limit
but
as to what Allah has shared with us.
Yeah, but can we describe Allah, like as an entity? Can we describe Allah?
As I said, we can explain up to the point of what Allah has taught us.
Yeah, but still, for example, Allah taught us about a lot of things. That's true. But can we define Allah Himself? Like, can we give Allah a definition like, okay, this is the definition of Allah, or this is the description of Allah?
I wouldn't be able to go into.
We can talk about His qualities.
Exact details.
But because once we talk about, it's Islam, your identity. Then we're gonna have to get into Allah and the creation and everything. But anyways, long story short, Islam is faith. So my faith is just like it's something that I follow. It's a path to follow. It's a doing thing. it's not an identity or it's not a description that I carry.
No, but
Like,
Islam
example,
is what
right
is
now,
your guide. Islam is what you have to live by.
yeah.
Regardless of what country
For example,
you're
some people will think I have to wear khamis, imamad, you know, more like Arabized clothing to look like a Muslim, whereby I can just wear casual and be a Muslim.
But that's
You
another
get me?
issue.
So once we start to give Islam a description, then we try to look like a different people who are not you, or you just trying to give yourself a definition. Remember, Islam is a private thing. You're not supposed to show off. So just by being casual and being just like simple person by yourself, then that's okay. You don't have to look like
Let me
a
just, identity has many different levels.
Okay.
So you're a man, you're a son. These are different parts of your identity, right? You can't say that I'm a man, but I'm not Somalian.
But that's the description,
right? But it's parts of my identity.
Yeah.
So I'm British. I'm also Turkish. I'm a father. I'm a son, right? And I'm a Muslim, right? These are all different parts of my identity, but they come in different categories, right? So one is my religion, one is my ethnicity, right? But what the brother was trying to say to you, we accept that you're Somalian, and we accept that you're Muslim as well. We're not doubting that, but is Islam more important, or being Somalian? Is that something that you feel is at a higher level?
See, that's better. That's better. Or you can even make it more simple, saying, do you love Allah more or you love Somalia more? I love Allah more. That's much simpler. Do you love Allah more? First of all, I love Allah, then I love my mom, my parents, then I love my country. But when it comes to identity, because we're talking about there's two different things.
We're talking about ethnicity.
We're talking about description. Right now, identity is description.
Identity is an umbrella term for many different types of.
Well, you can say that. You can say that.
Categories.
But religion does not fall under identity.
Of course it does.
It doesn't.
So a Muslim is part of your identity, but it's not exclusively your identity. You're not just Muslim, but you don't have a ethnicity. The brother become Muslim, but he's still English.
Define what identity.
Alright, he's a Muslim, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Still.
How do I identify him if he's a Muslim?
How do you identify him?
Yeah, so like, is there any
I can identify him under a number of different.
No. But he did. If he didn't tell you he wasn't a Muslim, would you have identified him?
No.
He looks like a casual person, but that's what I'm saying. Islam.
But how would I know that you're Muslim?
No. Unless you give yourself a description of something called Islam, then you would have an identity of Islam. But Islam is more like a personal faith thing.
When you say identity, do you mean how to ID someone?
No.
How to identify someone? The way I interpret identity,
for example, when I say I'm
my set of values.
For example, Somali is an identity, right? It's a country, it's a place. It gives like everything that falls under a description.
That's one of them.
Yeah,
Right,
but anything that falls under a description, any description, as long as it falls under a description, is an identity. You get me? But if it does not fall under a description, then you can only give it a definition.
So that's how you define identity, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
So Islam, we're talking about the heart. For example, in Islam we have aql and qalb, right? The aql is where we, define things around the world, and the qalb is all special things, right? So my mind is Somali, my heart is Islam. How about that?
I think what I was asking before was, because obviously as an English revert, there are certain things I have to give up because the society I live in isn't Islamic. Is everything in Somalian culture Islamic?
Okay, that's a good question.
Are there certain things that you have to give up?
No, there are no any things. There are things that we gave up.
Yes.
No, you.
No. Right now, there's nothing to give up, but there are things that we gave
in
up.
Somalia, no one drinks. No one smokes. I'm not saying it's part of the culture, but I'm just trying to get.
If you ask me about the culture, it's a different thing. But if you're talking about something as general, we're all humans, man. There are people do all sorts of things. There's no way I'm going to tell you Somalis don't drink.
I agree. But would you agree? And I'm only asking. Would you agree that part of English culture is pub culture?
3 months ago, I used to smoke.
Things like that. So that's why. Would you agree that English culture, part of it is pub culture? There's a pub culture in England. That's why I'm asking. I haven't never been to Somalia. So.
What do you mean? I don't still get.
So most English blokes my age, there's a pub culture. So alcohol is, I'm not just drinking alcohol, but there's a pub culture. Pub culture that I now have to give up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that English culture's British
much more to
values. There's much more to it. But I'm just giving that an example of something that I have to give up, even if all my friends are going there, even if it's a popular thing amongst my people. Is there anything like that in your?
Well, like khat or something like that.
Oh yeah, there is khat. There is a lot of things going on there. Cigar, smoking, and all that.
And are you happy to give up these things to
But
adopt an Islamic?
First of all, a lot
Or
of
are you stuck
Somalis,
on it because it's Somali culture?
a lot of people,
Yeah, I think that's
a lot
worded
of
it
people.
better.
First of all, card is not a Somali thing.
What is card?
It doesn't even go. Yeah, it's a.
Like a drug.
It's more like a drug. It's not specifically a drug, but it's more like a drug, but still. Yeah, it's a plant. Yeah, it's a plant. What it does is like, you know, it kind of alters the mind or something
But
like that.
it's part of Somali culture.
Yeah.
It's not
I'm not
Somali
saying it's
culture.
originated from
No,
Somalia.
it's
I don't
not.
know.
Yeah.
But many Somalians,
Well,
particularly the elders,
if something
will
is
get
if
involved
something
with
if something did not originate from you, it's not your culture.
that. No, that's wrong.
No.
How can you?
If it's become, so you're saying that it has to originate from your people to
For
be your
example,
culture,
as Somali, right?
right?
Qad is something that's practiced by some people, not all of us, a very minor of us, right? And most of it comes from Ethiopia and Yemen. So I'd rather give it to Yemen and
Regardless-
Ethiopia.
I'm not saying where it originated. I'm not saying who has the patent to it, but if it's common among your people, like it's saying, like the brother mentioned about pub culture, right? So did English people invent beer? That's like saying that, then, isn't it? So because English people didn't invent beer, therefore pub culture is not English.
Oh yeah, beer is khamr, right?
Can we go back to the?
right.
Are you really? Are there things in the Somali culture that
seems like
aren't
diverted
in
from
line?
that.
That aren't in line in the Islamic belief in the culture, I guess.
Within
That
Somali,
you're not happy to give up.
things that I'm not happy to
Yeah,
give up.
the
That's
things
not,
that you are.
That you
But-
would give up
but- but-
because of Allah.
but is it seen as haram?
Part of your
Yes, things that are haram. Yes.
But is in Somali culture? That I'm not willing to give up.
Yeah.
There isn't.
I think
Like, there's-
everyone agrees. I think we're all in agreement.
I'll give you an example from my culture. We like to drink coffee. You know, Turkish coffee. Now, part of our culture is once it's done, you'll have a little bit left in the bottle, and they'll try and do like a fortune telling based on this. Drinking coffee isn't haram. It's part of our culture, which can be acceptable. But the fortune telling, that's haram. So I have to give that up.
That's a good example.
Regardless, I'm Turkish, whatever. I'm proud to be from that, whatever it is. But in the day, Allah says not allowed, and that part of my earth, that culture, bye bye. Right? Doesn't make me any less of who I am. So I'm sure, you know, Somalians are human, English, everyone is human, they're bound to make some mistakes. Right? You might see something, especially now you're living in England, where you, from an outsider's perspective, you might say, you know what, this is part of my culture, but actually, I'm going to have to give it up.
What's your name? Sorry.
Everlast.
Everlast.
Yeah, on camera, Everlast. After
Everlast,
camera, I'll tell
like
you.
the brand Everlast. Okay. So I think brother Everlast.
There's a lot of that going on nowadays. It's gone now.
I think what you're saying is the stuff that is that people in, I guess in Somalia are adopting that isn't actually haram. What is it? No, continue. Sorry.
But if we're talking about general thing like music, there is music in Somalia. If we're talking about drugs, like cards, there is drugs in Somalia.
And I was asking because it's
But-
good. You're a proud
but-
Somalian.
Yeah, but the thing
brother.
is, let me finish this. Yeah, there are things that we gave up because of Islam.
Yes.
Right, like worshipping the sun god, like the Egyptian people, like worshipping the god of water, or you know, we had a whole paganistic kind of religion and a lot of paganistic culture that we gave up, right? So there's it's like, for example, nether means divine, but this nether word was used for divine things in the ancient gods, but now we use nether for divine things that come from Allah. So there are things that we changed to fit the religion, and there are things that we totally threw away because it does not fit in the religion. You get me? So apart from khad, these are, for example, khamr or alcohol is haram, is clearly on the Quran. But when it comes to qad or things like this, even though a lot of people like qad because some of them work night shifts or they're drivers, for example, they drive from one end to another, and qad helps them to stay awake. You get me? For a long time of distance, so they don't get into accidents, or they don't fall or something happens to them. So in some sense it's useful, and in some sense some people abuse it. Right? Everything. If you abuse water, it's bad for you. Even though water is good for you, but you abuse it, it can kill you. So the same thing goes with anything, drugs, even the qad itself. Some people use it for the purpose of staying awake to fulfill their business and to feed their family, and some of them just abuse it. So those who abuse it, I think it's haram for them. And those who just do it for the business, I'm not the one to put a law on it. If Allah made it haram, Allah made it haram. You get me? That's the way it is, man.
So when you were talking about the Arabization, you're talking about the stuff that so you don't want to get rid of the stuff that isn't haram. Like, why get rid of the stuff that's part of your culture that isn't haram?
What do you mean?
So the stuff that's in Somali culture, like the dress that you showed, for
That's
example.
not haram.
Yeah. So if it's not haram, why get rid of it? Is what you're.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want that Arabization or whatever.
Look, when people come to your
enough,
land,
man.
when people come to you,
cool, yeah.
right, and they are not only, for example, what the Sahaba did, they came to us, they said, hello guys, There's only one Allah. Boom. They built a mosque, right? With our help, obviously. I know he's gonna say they built it, but I'm gonna have to stand against that. But anyways, they built a mosque and then they left. Nothing else. They left us. And then these Somalis, like for example the Grand Dynasty, they migrated from all the way down and they started, teaching about Islam to their other Somali brethren. And then when these people became powerful, they went out of their hand and they went to Maldives and parts of Asia to spread Islam. Even South, all of East Africa was because of us that they're Muslims. East Africa was spread Islam because of us. So there's a lot of things that we've done. So when it comes to giving up a lot of things, we destroyed a lot of historical things. Right now, people also the colonizers, the colonists, they stole a lot of our history as well. They destroyed so much stuff that was ours. So there's a lot of things that happened to Somalia. Like Ethiopia, they were really good at,
How did Islam reach Somalia then? I don't know
the first migration.
Okay.
The first hijrah, they passed by a port, a Somali port in Zayla, and boom, that's and then after that, I think they settled there for a bit, and then they taught them about Islam, and then they moved on to
the 7th century.
Yeah?
It was the 7th century. Yeah. They were fleeing the persecution in Mecca, and they were going to Habasha because King Negus invited them. And on their way, they went past to Zayla, and they settled there for a few days, and they built the locals there, and they built a mosque.
And they were able to convert the locals, were they?
Yeah, the locals there. They were nomads there. They built a mosque there.
So then, in order for that to spread, the locals must have gained a certain level of knowledge, and then went out on missions to spread Islam.
So the crux of it is we're all in agreement, aren't we? We're all different cultures. Right? Islam is first, Allah is first, but we want to keep our culture that isn't haram, and that's encouraged. We're all actually in agreement, aren't we?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I think we agree.